female sailors are currently locked inside a multi-billion-dollar nuclear war machine, enduring zero physical privacy alongside 155 highly stressed crewmates. How do these fierce pioneers survive this suffocating psychological torture to completely shatter a centuries-old male-dominated military legacy? Let's breach the hull of the silent service to uncover the terrifying reality of their ultimate tactical dominance. Right now, female sailors are living underwater for months at a time. They operate between 400 and 1,300 feet below the ocean surface. No windows, no natural sunlight for 90 consecutive days. They breathe artificial air. Outside their hull, millions of gallons of crushing seawater generate a lethal pressure of over 400 pounds per square inch. It is an environment designed to crush human sanity. Yet these women are not just surviving, they are dominating. Their retention rate stands at a staggering 74.9%, actively outperforming their male counterparts at 73.8%. Let's start with the most basic human need and the ultimate psychological battleground: sleep. Submarine sleeping quarters make commercial airplane seats look incredibly luxurious. The enlisted berthing compartment houses the crew in what submariners bluntly call racks. These are not beds. They are aluminum coffins with one side violently sliced open. Each rack measures exactly 77 inches long and 27 inches wide. That is significantly shorter and narrower than a standard twin mattress. Now stack them 3 high. The space is suffocating. Personal territory consists of a microscopic 5-inch deep storage pan beneath the thin mattress. Everything you own for a 6-month deployment must fit inside that tiny gap. Uniforms, boots, letters from home, everything. Recently, the USS New Jersey, designated SSN 796, changed the historical game. It became the first fast attack submarine built explicitly with gender integration in mind, replacing flimsy curtains with actual privacy doors. But physical space is merely the baseline of this brutal equation. The true warfare happens inside the mind. A modern nuclear submarine operates on a punishing 18-hour biological rhythm. The traditional 24-hour human clock is completely obliterated. You stand watch for 6 hours, you train or clean for 6 hours, and you attempt to sleep for 6 hours. Your body never adapts. You exist in a state of chronic, agonizing exhaustion. Furthermore, the environment actively fights your rest. The air is artificially scrubbed with oxygen levels, deliberately maintained at roughly 18%, instead of the natural 21% to mitigate devastating fire risks. This lower oxygen concentration leaves the human brain in a perpetual thick fog. Then comes the claustrophobia. You are lying in pitch blackness. Just a few inches of HY100 high-yield steel separate your fragile body from immediate violent implosion. The background noise is relentless. The nuclear reactor hums, pumps throb, machinery violently shakes the steel bulkheads 24 hours a day. Female submariners must develop an elite level of self-hypnosis to force their brains to shut down. They master unparalleled neurological adaptation to block out the overwhelming sensory deprivation. If it were, you close your eyes and sleep, knowing there wouldn't be a single ray of sunlight around you for 3 agonizing months. Suddenly, the relentless hum is shattered. The piercing high-pitched shriek of the general alarm violently tears through the compartment. Rig for red. The standard white fluorescent lights instantly snap off, replaced by a haunting bloody crimson glow. Tactical combat readiness. The adrenaline spike is instantaneous and brutal. From a state of deep chemically depleted sleep, the central nervous system is violently forced to achieve 100% maximum tactical awareness in less than 60 seconds. The female sailors explode out of their cramped aluminum coffins. The narrow passageways are barely 36 inches wide, yet dozens of bodies move with lethal, synchronized precision. There is absolute silence. There is zero panic. There are no collisions. They sprint to their battle stations with the cold, calculated efficiency of apex predators. This is not just training. It is the absolute steel discipline of pure survival. To maintain absolute sanity under hundreds of meters of crushing ocean pressure, these sailors actively sacrifice their youth and the simple luxury of normal rest. If this staggering level of mental willpower commands your respect, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. A quick click from the surface is a massive tribute to the incredible women silently defending our freedom in the darkest depths. Sleeping inside a metal coffin actively grinds down human logic. But how do these fierce professionals maintain their final shreds of absolute personal dignity when their most private biological needs are ruthlessly exposed to 155 other watching eyes? The bathroom aboard a modern nuclear submarine makes a commercial porta potty feel like a luxurious mansion. On a Virginia-class fast attack submarine, 15 officers and 140 enlisted personnel share a staggeringly low number of microscopic spaces. The sanitary facility is crammed into a footprint smaller than a civilian closet. There are no expansive locker rooms here. You are surrounded by cold stainless steel, a complex vacuum flush toilet system, and a shower stall so tight you can barely pivot your shoulders without slamming into the bulkheads. This aggressively cramped reality forces a radical, uncompromising approach to mixed gender integration. Male and female sailors must share identical, unisex facilities around the clock without a single margin for error. The system hinges on a ruthlessly enforced procedural doctrine, the flip sign protocol. When a female sailor occupies the head, a standardized sign is flipped on the outer watertight hatch. The men wait. It is not a polite suggestion, it is absolute maritime law. This demands flawless communication and an ironclad mutual respect that civilians rarely experience. Fresh water is a premium, tightly controlled tactical resource. The submarine's reverse osmosis desalination plant generates thousands of gallons daily. However, the nuclear reactor's critical cooling requirements claim absolute highest priority, followed strictly by crew hydration. Personal hygiene ranks dead last. Therefore, shower time becomes a brutally efficient military operation. You get precisely 90 seconds. Water on, get wet, water off, soap up, water on, rinse off, done. There are absolutely no leisurely showers allowed when 155 lives depend on the strict conservation of tactical resources. But the true marvel isn't the complex plumbing. It is the impenetrable psychological fortress these female sailors construct. On a submerged submarine, physical privacy is an utter illusion. Thin metal partitions provide zero acoustic dampening. Sound violently travels through every square inch of the steel tube. Your most intimate biological functions instantly become crew business. To survive this exposure, female sailors master the extreme concept of mental privacy. When physical walls cease to exist, the only barrier left is the unbreakable psychological wall of collective discipline. This extreme environment demands a complete annihilation of the human ego. Every ounce of civilian shyness, physical modesty, and hesitation must be ruthlessly stripped away and discarded. In its place, these sailors forge a cold, calculated, and elite professionalism. You are no longer just a man or a woman. You are a critical biological component of a multi-billion-dollar weapons platform. Trust evolves from a fragile emotion into an impenetrable tactical shield. This unwavering trust is the only thing protecting their fundamental human dignity in this space. How much of your own ego are you truly willing to surrender to become a flawless, synchronized gear in this apex war machine? This hardened discipline faces its ultimate agonizing test during tactical evasion. Suddenly, the loudspeaker crackles with the most terrifying command in the silent service: rig for ultra quiet. An enemy acoustic sweep, perhaps a hostile hunter-killer submarine, is actively pinging the surrounding water. The submarine's speed instantly drops to a creeping crawl. All non-essential machinery is violently killed. Crucially, all sanitary vacuum flush systems are instantly locked down. In this silent game of acoustic cat and mouse, the toilet transforms into a lethal weapon pointed directly at their own heads. A single flush generates a massive cavitation bubble. To an enemy's passive sonar array listening 10 miles away, that noise is a blindingly bright acoustic flare. It violently screams their exact coordinates. But the biological reality of the human body does not care about evasion protocols. The physiological need to relieve oneself rapidly builds into a screaming, agonizing physical pain. This is the horrifying climax of their internal war. Agonizing biological cramps tear relentlessly at their abdomens, battling against a titanium will to maintain operational silence. They clench their jaws in the suffocating darkness. These fierce women will gladly suffer severe internal trauma. They will endure excruciating physiological agony before their hand ever touches that flush valve. Making a single sound means trading temporary physical relief for 155 violent deaths. They choose the pain. They always choose the pain. Physiological discipline has forged them into hardened tactical steel. But when the darkness drags on relentlessly and every single human sense is violently starved of stimulation, what will keep their minds from shattering into a million pieces inside this suffocating space? To prevent mental fracturing under extreme sensory deprivation, the Navy relies on a space no larger than a walk-in closet. The crew mess is the only social epicenter aboard. The mathematics are brutally unforgiving. You have exactly 155 highly stressed crew members, but the steel tables seat only 24 individuals. This extreme limitation mandates a relentless 24-hour continuous rotation of feeding shifts. The galley itself measures a microscopic 10 by 14 feet. Within this suffocatingly tight box, culinary teams must manufacture morale, discipline, and sustained combat energy. Submerged logistics dictate that fresh provisions are an agonizingly fleeting luxury. When the submarine dives, the clock immediately starts ticking on perishable cargo. Exactly 14 days into the patrol, fresh milk runs completely dry. Crisp vegetables wilt, and fresh fruit is eradicated from the menu. From day 15 onward, the 155-person crew is exclusively dependent on heavily processed canned goods and deep frozen provisions. The caloric requirement remains aggressively high. Despite confined physical movement, the extreme cognitive load of operating a nuclear reactor burns thousands of calories daily. When fresh food vanishes, the fundamental nature of eating transforms. In this hostile environment, food ceases to be merely about caloric intake. It weaponizes into the ultimate psychological anchor. The submarine is a devastating chamber of sensory deprivation. There are absolutely no natural smells, no shifting sunlight, and no changing scenery to stimulate the cortex. Everything is gray steel, artificial fluorescent light, and the omnipresent scent of amine chemicals. In this sterile void, the intense flavor of a meal becomes the last frayed thread tying these sailors to their fading civilian humanity. Consequently, culinary specialists are not merely cooks. They are the absolute frontline combat psychologists of the submarine force. They operate under draconian engineering restrictions. Deep fat fryers are strictly banned. A single aerosolized grease particle can permanently cripple the submarine's multi-million-dollar carbon dioxide scrubber systems, asphyxiating the crew. Armed only with basic convection ovens and steam kettles, these specialists actively manipulate the crew's neurochemistry. They meticulously monitor psychological shifts. They deploy comfort food with lethal precision to neutralize rising interpersonal tensions before they mutate into dangerous operational hazards. As the patrol grinds into its second month, a terrifying psychological predator begins hunting the crew cabin fever. By the third consecutive week of breathing canned air, the steel walls feel like they are closing in. Severe irritability spikes aggressively across the entire boat. The extreme lack of spatial separation means a simple misunderstanding can rapidly escalate into severe psychological degradation. The neural pathways of both male and female sailors are flooded with cortisol. The collective mental endurance of the crew is stretched so incredibly thin that it threatens to snap. Can a single steaming cup of dark roasted coffee or a freshly baked pastry truly possess enough psychological power to violently pull a collapsing human mind back from the absolute brink of insanity? It is exactly day 45 of a classified patrol. The sickening monotony of rehydrated eggs is actively inducing psychological nausea. The atmospheric tension in the tight passageways is heavy and incredibly dangerous. Suddenly, the rich scent of baking crust and melting mozzarella floods ventilation. It is pizza night. The meal instantly transcends basic nutrition to become the vital social heartbeat of the submarine. It actively maintains the fragile morale of the crew for months beneath the ocean floor. Here, the female sailors integrate flawlessly into this established dining routine and the shared social dynamic. In this cramped mess hall, a beautiful transformation occurs. The dangerous, hyper-aggressive tension instantly evaporates. Exhausted male and female sailors aggressively cram together on the padded orange benches, sitting shoulder to shoulder. In this sacred space, you are judged entirely by your professional contribution to the boat, never by your gender. They are simply warriors, sharing a slice of home, trading dark jokes to drown out the reactor's hum. This meal is a perfectly engineered collective sedative, patching 155 cracked souls into a single unified and unstoppable combat organism. They have successfully conquered the lethal isolation and perfectly protected their collective sanity. But standing before a hostile, centuries-old legacy that belonged exclusively to men, what ultimate weapon will these female warriors deploy to shatter ingrained prejudices and permanently redefine our modern undersea warfare? The integration of the silent service was never going to be a peaceful or simple transition. When the very first female submariners boldly stepped through the heavy steel pressure hull, they carried a terrifying psychological burden that their male counterparts simply never experienced. They were not merely representing themselves as individual sailors. They were the heavily scrutinized pioneers tasked with validating the capabilities of an entire gender. In this fiercely traditional, highly unforgiving military environment, a single operational mistake by a male sailor is routinely viewed as an isolated individual failure. However, a single miscalculation by a woman was aggressively weaponized by critics as undeniable proof that the entire gender integration program was fundamentally flawed. To survive this suffocating level of institutional scrutiny, these female sailors actively mutated this immense crushing pressure into a devastating weapon of razor-sharp, cold tactical concentration. They did not just face theoretical prejudice, they confronted aggressive real-world betrayals of trust. The infamous 2014 Kings Bay shower recording incident threatened to permanently derail the entire integration initiative. Yet the submarine force responded with absolute draconian discipline, swiftly terminating the careers of those involved to fiercely protect the tactical integrity of the crew. Instead of retreating from the hostile environment, female sailors doubled down on their commitment, completely shattering historical expectations with cold hard operational data. Here's the ultimate undeniable proof of their elite excellence. The female retention rate currently stands at a staggering 74.9%. They are actively outperforming the male retention rate of 73.8%. They are not merely enduring the darkness, they are choosing to stay in the abyss longer than the men. This is not just a statistic, it is a profound psychological victory that completely redefines the modern standard of naval endurance. Deeply entrenched prejudice is never destroyed by polite political slogans or corporate diversity mandates. It is utterly pulverized by extreme, undeniable operational excellence. As undersea combat systems grow exponentially more complex, raw physical muscle is rendered tactically obsolete. The modern submarine battle space demands elite cognitive flexibility, rapid multitasking, and flawless emotional regulation under extreme duress. Female sailors inherently excel in these high-stakes neurological parameters, naturally deploying a supreme level of situational awareness. They can rapidly process overwhelming chaotic streams of raw sonar data, meticulously manage complex nuclear reactor metrics, and expertly coordinate lethal weapon deployments without experiencing catastrophic cognitive overload. Their unparalleled ability to compartmentalize paralyzing fear and maintain a steady, ice-cold emotional baseline has secretly become the United States submarine force's most devastating tactical advantage. This staggering psychological resilience forces us to fundamentally reevaluate everything we thought we understood about the brutal nature of modern warfare. Does the ultimate absolute strength of a highly advanced military force truly originate from the physical thickness of its high-yield titanium armor plates? Or does it stem from the limitless, terrifying endurance of the human mind? Massive weapons platforms can always be mathematically countered, electronically intercepted, or physically destroyed by superior kinetic technology. However, a highly trained human mind that has completely conquered its own biological panic cannot be defeated by any known algorithm. These female sailors have definitively proven that true unyielding power lies within an unbreakable psychological fortress. They successfully turned the crushing isolation of the deep ocean into an impenetrable, invisible shield. Fast forward to a highly classified, incredibly tense combat deployment in the brutal, freezing winter of 2028. Inside the claustrophobic, dimly lit confines of the control room, the atmosphere is dead silent and thick with life or death tension. A hostile, advanced hunter-killer submarine is aggressively closing the distance, locking its active targeting sensors directly onto their acoustic signature. Suddenly, A sharp, commanding female voice violently slices through the suffocating terror of the compartment. The very first female commanding officer in American naval history coldly barks the definitive order, dive, dive, make depth 800 feet. Her rapid, mathematically precise tactical decisions instantly outmaneuver the incoming enemy torpedo, actively saving the lives of the entire fleet. In that dark, trembling room, there is absolutely no concept of male or female. There are only pure, hardened submariners conquering the most hostile environment on Earth. Let the massive surge of combat adrenaline slowly fade as we look closely at the ultimate tangible symbol of this incredible human journey. The heavy silver or gold Dolphin warfarer, pin permanently drilled into their uniform chest, is far more than a standard piece of military insignia. It is a sacred metal forged from the absolute refusal to surrender to biological limits, sensory deprivation, and centuries of historical prejudice. These women are genuine warriors of steel, violently forged in the crushing darkness to silently protect the brilliant light of freedom. If the unbreakable spirit of these women has earned your respect, please hit the like button and subscribe. Your support is the ultimate salute to their sacrifice, ensuring we continue to tell the stories of these fierce guardians defending our world from the shadows.